The other night, playing with our club of pickleball players, about 15 of us, I had a total meltdown. And this is unusual for me, especially in a public place. And so I ended up throwing the ball, throwing my paddle into the net. I really lost it. And people were coming over, what's going on? And it was actually quite something. So this is a moment of overwhelm. And let's break it down and look at what was actually going on there and what we can learn from that using the 3 pillars of stress management to explore. The first thing is just to understand what was going on. So we were playing a game. We keep track of our scores, so it was a little bit competitive. And I was playing with somebody who does not keep score very well. He always forgets the score. I also tend to forget the score a fair bit, but he's even worse than I am. And it was just like every time he'd say, "What's the score?" And I would answer, and there'd be like this doubt, and it just pretty soon nobody knew what the score was. And this kept going on and going on and going on for many points. And it reached a final, the finale was when the other team won by, I think, a point or 2. And I was just like, this is just crazy. This is not fun. I'm lost. I'm confused and all of that. So that's the moment. And another factor was my actual life partner is in the background, and he knows I can't keep great score. He knows the other person can't either. And so he started putting the score out like from the sidelines, but he wasn't like the official scorekeeper either. So now we have 4 people on the courts plus him all trying to tell what the score was, and little arguments ensuing. And meanwhile, I have to try to concentrate to play the game, which takes a lot of focus anyway. So I really reached the breaking point, and that's our moment. That's our stressful situation where I got overwhelmed. So how do the 3 pillars of stress management help us here? When I say 3 pillars of stress management, I mean 3 pillars of stress management for highly sensitive people. These pillars are something that I came up with to help have a framework for how to deal with stress as a highly sensitive person. And those pillars are, first of all, to understand the HSP trait. When you understand this trait, when you understand that's what it is, it can give a lot of understanding, a lot of compassion. The second pillar is to take care of yourself and live a balanced life. And the third pillar is to surrender your ego and find true inner freedom. So let's look at how each of these pillars can help to unpack this situation. The first one is understanding the HSP trait. And, the pioneer researcher, Elaine Aron, who came up with this, or kind of really popularized the idea of being HSP, she emphasizes a lot the idea of 4 main characteristics of HSP. She calls it DOES, DOES. One is depth, one is overwhelm, one is emotion or empathy, and the other is sensitivity. And so if we look at each of these 4 in this situation, it can shed some light on what was going on for me. The first one is depth. So one of the things that I do when I play pickleball is I try to go deep. I try to really focus on the nuances of how I hit the ball, where I'm going to be moving, the strategy of it. And I almost need undivided attention. And of course, it's challenging because there's all kinds of distractions to bring me out of that. But just knowing that gives a lot of understanding for why I would get flustered when the scoring thing keeps coming up. And in reality, that became a bigger deal than the actual game, the actual playing, which is what I was more interested in. So that is part of being an HSP, and it makes it understandable why I would get overwhelmed if that came along far enough. So that brings us to the second point of being an HSP, which is overwhelm. Overwhelm is a normal part of being an HSP. It happens to us more frequently than other people because we become flooded more quickly, because we tend to notice a lot of different things and we tend to process them and we want to try to make it all work out. So what was I dealing with? I was dealing with the game itself, which is a huge amount of focus. There's my playing partner who was not able to keep score, and then the interaction I had with him and me almost feeling hesitant to correct him, which is also an HSP trait. And then my actual life partner in the background telling the score and me feeling kind of in the middle there and not wanting to be controlled either and feeling like it's almost a criticism of me. All of these things, though stressful in general for anyone, are more understandable in the light of being an HSP because we take all of these things into consideration, and because of that, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. The E of DOES stands for emotion or empathy, and the empathy I was feeling was kind of being a little bit almost too much in my partner's business and wanting him to like me and not wanting to ruffle his feathers by being too strong with what the score actually is. Emotional, as you can see, this whole thing became charged for me and became emotionally overwhelming because of the frustration. And then finally, sensitivity. I was sensitive to all the different people playing and all the different interactions happening. We kind of covered that a little bit, but all of this is a package deal that is, you put any HSP in this situation and 99% of the time they're going to get overwhelmed. So just understanding that means that I can cut myself some slack. And I don't have to think there's something wrong with me. I just have a narrow bandwidth when it comes to these things. And there's a point where that goes too far and I lost it. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar of stress management for highly sensitive people is to take care of yourself and live a balanced life. And so how could I have taken care of myself in this situation if I was replaying it again today? I could have, first of all, interrupted the game and asked my partner if I could be the one, like dedicated one, to call the score. Because I know that he doesn't do it great, but I can do it a lot better than he could. And I never actually asked for permission. So I was in this kind of nebulous state of not knowing if I should take control, but really it's the server's job to call the score. So I could have stopped and say, do you mind if I just call the score for the rest of the game? And he probably would have been relieved. And I could have taken care of myself that way, and it would have been a much more balanced situation. If necessary, another option could have been to take time out to talk about the issue with all sides, like both sides of the net, all four people playing, and just say, okay, we've got a scoring issue. My partner's not remembering. I also don't remember that well. So who's the strongest person here for remembering the score? Can you be the dedicated scorekeeper? Similarly, we could have included my life partner who's in the background trying to keep score, but again, not the official scorekeeper. And I could have said, hey, do you mind if he comes in and just stands at the net and calls the score for us? And he'd probably love that, and we'd all love that too. So this is how you can take care of yourself. Like you can do things to balance the situation once you're aware of it. If necessary, one other area I could apply this idea of balance would be if I'm really getting flustered, I could call a timeout and just say, I need a moment, get a drink of water, go step outside for a second if I need to, go to the bathroom, do something just to calm my own nerves for a moment before coming back in. And that could have helped a lot. So this is in the level of balance. The third pillar, and probably the most important or equally important maybe, is the idea of surrendering my ego. And this is where true inner freedom can be found. Where was my ego showing up in this? Well, underlying all of it was a desire to win. That's ego, fair and square. And so I can look at that thought, I want to win, and I can just question it a little bit, loosen it a little bit. Do you really want to win? Is that really the most important thing here? Are you sure about that? And who would you be without that idea that you want to win? I would be more relaxed. I would be maybe having some more fun. Maybe that's the turnaround. I want to have fun. And so I could actually start laughing. Like, this is obviously not the game for me to go deep into playing and having this more zone-like experience. This is the game to just kind of laugh at how crazy the situation is and have it a little looser. All right, so how else is my ego there? The idea of needing to win, but also needing to concentrate to win. Like the idea that this is serious and I need to go deep with this. It's an attachment. And when I'm attached, even though it's a good thing to go deep, I'm attached to that. And then when I can't go deep, I get frustrated. So again, stepping back and loosening that attachment could help me take it with a grain of salt. Another place where my ego showed up is I didn't want to take responsibility for the scoring. So I wanted the other person to just like take care of it, even though he couldn't, because I was afraid that he wouldn't like it if I just took over and started scoring. What I love about the balancing that we saw is that I could have asked and talked about it and said, hey, do you mind if I just take over the scoring? I'll just make it easier. And as long as I ask, then there's sort of a transfer of power and I'm not trying to usurp the power, which is what I was afraid he wouldn't like. But nonetheless, it's this fear in me, like I want to stay safe. This is ego. I don't want to take the lead. He'll criticize me. This is ego. And if I question that and maybe step into taking the lead, he may not criticize at all. He may find gratitude and I can find peace as well. So this is an interesting one for people like me. I tend to be introverted as well as HSP. And it's easy for me to step into the background and let other people lead. But look here, the turnaround is pointing me in the opposite direction to actually take the lead. And I may find more peace by doing that, the opposite of what my ego wants. And I may find peace by actually engaging rather than deferring. Other ways that my ego shows up is blame, like putting myself above him. He's a terrible scorekeeper. So then I feel insecure and I can't connect with him in a human way because I've put myself above him and I'm critical. Another place my ego came in was with my life partner in the background, who was calling the score from the sidelines. And I saw him as interfering or taking over. And so I was defensive. And the beliefs there were, I wanted to figure it out for myself. I wanted to be in control. And that's pure ego. So if I can question those thoughts and maybe surrender control, like turn around, I don't want to be in control, and let my partner do the calling, like have him come to the net and actually take over for that, it might be a relief for everybody.